Oh, okay. There I am. Okay, let me see. I gotta, guess, fix all this. All right. Well, I don't didn't expect too many people to be in here. This is my first time going to Facebook Live, and so this is going to be interesting for me, and hopefully interesting for everyone else as well. My name is Paul, and I am talking to you from FreightCast, actually Freight Connect. And this is where we work with companies to help them connect with shippers directly, be able to connect and just grow their business, do more business as a freight carrier, as a broker, as a dispatcher. Both sides are needed as far as the shipper and the carrier side. And as well, the brokers are needed, the carriers are needed, the dispatchers are needed. We're all needed. So, how can we work together and make this all work? Well, there's plenty of ways to do that, and we're just going to talk about some of those things each week. We're going to come together. Hey, Georgia, how are you? Hi, hi, hi. Oh, I like it so much better here on uh, on YouTube versus the way I was doing it. I have to learn it. I don't know exactly what I am doing here, so please forgive me. Not only that, I think I'm nervous. I'm going to say I am. I'm very nervous about this. Okay. I know there's some things that I'm going to have so many thoughts, and I'm not going to know which way to go with it. And sometimes it'll sound like I'm rattling, but definitely feel free to chime in and whatever you have to offer, bring it to the table, and we'll see what happens here. So this is the first time that I'm going on Facebook Live. Oh, there's my guy. Look, I we haven't talked in so long, Mr. Grade Eight. How are you, sir? It's good to see you there. And man, it's I am now. I'm really nervous. We're really getting the big dogs in here. And if you guys have something to say, please say it. I'd love to hear what you guys have to say. This is my first time here on YouTube Live, so we'll see how this works out. I think the picture is a lot clearer. I'm hoping the audio is clear, and as we move along in the weeks, maybe I'll be able to figure out some other things that bring some interest to what we're trying to do here. So we're just trying to put some stuff out there that can be helpful, and so that I can learn too. You guys have a lot out there for me to learn, and so I know that I don't know everything, because I don't, but I think I have an interest in everything. So love to hear what you guys have to say. Um, and today there was a there was so many things. It's like every week since the start of the year, there's something to talk about, right? It's like when COVID hit, everyone got a podcast, right? Now probably that's happening. Everyone's going to have something to say. Um, there is there are topics that I'm very interested in. I love it when the administration does say things, because it also always gives you an opportunity to learn about new things that are going on, and especially globally. I think that's the biggest key. I know that way back in the day when I was working with DIY, he and I would get online and talk, and he would talk about, or we would talk about, try to expand it beyond just, say, if I am in Texas, just moving freight and the troubles that I deal with. This is a global thing. There are global opportunities that exist. So if we're trying to grow our business and really take it to another level, I think it can be done. There's a lot of challenges, a lot of noise, and it's like, how do we weave through that, right? I don't have the answers, but I'd like to talk about some of the things that are out there. And there's a couple of things that I'm going to touch upon today. And man, bring up whatever you want. If there's something that you guys want to talk about, please do it. I don't have the answers. I don't know all the good topics, but I know that you guys do. Even if that's what broker transparency. I don't even know if that's really a topic. Is it noise? Or is it really something to talk about? I mean, it could be. Maybe it is. Maybe it is something to talk about. I don't know. Um, I don't know. But I think, and really, I think that it has its place. You know, I think when we understand the global scope, just take that macro view, then I think that we're able to understand some things and put it in its proper context, right? And maybe be able to deal with it better. Maybe that complicates things. I don't know. But I think that someone that's looking to come into our industry, if they're able to get this global scope of what our industry is all about, I think that it becomes more real. It becomes more tangible. It becomes something that we might feel like, we can, I'm not going to say control, but we can get a direction, as to where we want to go with what we do. And so as far as that goes, let's see. Well, I remember, okay. All right. I got to pay attention to everything now with this YouTube thing. All right. So as far as that goes, I just want to kind of go broad to start off, and then try to keep it to 30 minutes. I have a tendency to not do that, but see if I can keep it to 30 minutes and just hit upon some things. But in the meantime, if you guys have something that you want to bring up, please do. There is one of the things is, I'm an economics guy and I love economics, and trucking, there's no way that you can escape economics when you're talking about trucking. There's just no way in the world. Economics guides our industry. It really does. So the things that go on out there in the economy, locally, on a local front, on a national front, on a global stage, I would even venture to say going into outer space, there is a connection, and we are a part of that. So when you look at the economy, I'm just going to break it down, and economics can be so boring, but I think it's not. I think it's anything that I do in this business, it has to do with economics, and anything that you do, whether you understand it or not, whether you understand why you're waiting to make a pickup, and you should be charging detention, it's all economics. Even at home, it's all economics. But at any rate, the way I look at it is, and you might have heard me say this before, and I'll be brief. The economy is based upon 4 different pillars. All right. Am I right? I think I am. I don't know. You have the consumer, then you have the entrepreneur, then you have labor, and then you have the investor. They all play a critical role. And I don't think that you can have an economy without, one or the other. And when I say that, you can even go to the smallest of levels, go to the micro, to your home, and you think about it, you have these components, and they all play a part. So if we have the consumer who has a need, creating that demand, that has that demand, you have someone filling it. You have the entrepreneur, right? It's figuring it out how to get you the clothes that you want, figuring out how to get you the needs that you have. And then Cause Diver, how you doing? Good to see you. 50-year-old getting back into trucking. All right, 25 years old. All right, let's go. All right. Well, I tell you what, hopefully you'll be able to pick up on some stuff that we've got going on here. You're looking to get back into it. There's some things that we're talking about, and hopefully this will fit right in to what it is that can at least give you some guidance. All right. And I'd love to talk to you at another point in time as well. But as I was saying, in the economy, our trucking industry, and as you probably know, at being in the industry before, we follow the economy. The economy has 4 pillars, which is consumer. What did I say? You guys got to help me out here. The consumer. This is a test, actually. So anyway, the consumer, and then you've got the entrepreneur, and then you've got the labor, and then you've got investor. So you've got those 4 that is the economy. All right. And then when we go out and we look at that, when that is in motion, right, we have other things at play, and I call those influencers. That's on the outside, right? That is what is causing this economy to expand, and contract. All right. Now, what we want is this thing because it's always expanding and always contracting. We want it to do this, and we want it to grow, right? That's essentially what happens. And you have the United States, its economy, and then you have other countries, they have their economy as well. All right. Some aren't as elastic as others. meaning, they don't do this that well. And then you have others that, are pretty elastic. And then you have, your top economies or countries, economically. You've got the US is first, you've got China's number two, you've got Germany that's three, and then you have California that's four. Well, that's not a country, but it is number four. Okay. It's not a country, but it's number four on the list. And then you have, where was I at? So we had those four. And then you have Japan on that list. So you've got those four. And then I'm not sure what comes after that. I have to look it up, but those would be the top five or four, right? 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, top four. Okay. Now, with that, they're doing the same thing, right? They're expanding and contracting, right? And in this expansion and contraction, there are a lot of things that influence it, right? There's all these different influencers. And the influences can be, there's many things, it can be weather, it can be, which affects crop, stuff like that. You have education, you have war, geopolitics, you have all these different things that play a part in this, right? And when I'm doing this, depending upon how fast this moves and how deeply it moves, we also have influences that will try to bring it back in so it's not overheated and moving too fast, or so that it does, so to contract it. And then there's also stimuli that is entered to help it expand. So we've got the economy doing this, right, all the time. And there are people that watch it, such as the Federal Reserve, to determine, hey, is it moving too fast or is it moving too slow? Do we need to get involved here? Do we need to fool with anything? Interest rates, bonds and what have you? What do we need to do to tweak this thing? All right. Now, when we think about that, we're talking about the US economy, but then there's also the global economy as well, which we play a big part in. But on this scale, there's so many other things that are involved. And of course, it's all about the consumer. It really is, the health of the consumer, physically, mentally, financially. It's all about that. So when this is doing this, all those things are going on. There are agencies, there are different organizations, different people who are looking at that. Again, the Federal Reserve trying to make sure employment, is continuous, that is full, to make sure that money is flowing. So we have a healthy economy. That's the idea, a healthy economy. One that is doing this is not healthy. You don't want it to do this, right? And one that is doing this, you don't want it to go too fast. But while it's doing that, right, things are moving, right? We have the economy. What is that made up of? Again, the consumer. Consumer is 70% of spending in the US, 70%, right? Think about that. If you were in sports, your biggest producer, what are you going to do? Are you going to hold your biggest producer back, or are you going to encourage your biggest producer to produce, right? Are you going to encourage, how would you do that? There's many different ways of doing that, right? So we have the economy, and you have your biggest spender, which is your people, right? You have government that spends, right? But you've got your consumer. They're the ones that have to live day to day, and they have to spend money, and things come up and they have to spend money on it, right? That's just how it works. But they have to get the money from somewhere. So when we go back to talking about that cycle, or the four pillars, the consumer, the what did I say? The consumer. No one's got an answer for me. All right. So at any rate, when we talk about the consumer, and then we talk about the entrepreneur, and we talk about labor, and we talk about the investor, all of us are consumers. Each one of us, all of us. It doesn't matter where we fall in the place, right? But we're all spending. So when we spend, right, we spend money. That money gets cycled around, right? Gets to the entrepreneur, it gets to the laborer, it gets to the investor. Okay. And we all spend this money. So it cycles around. Now, as we do this and we're spending money and we're healthy, we're growing. And when we're not healthy, when things are like challenging and we're concerned, we tuck that money away. And what happens is it contracts. Okay. So that is, just the basic idea of the economy. But in it, when we're spending money, we're spending it in the way of, necessities. We need electricity and things like that. But we're also spending it like in regards to goods and services. All right. So when we're doing that, and we're spending money, things have to do what? They have to move. They have to move around. Things have to continue to move. And when things are moving, that's where we get involved. So it's really interesting and really important for us to understand this and to be able to look and say, okay, what's going on over here? What's happening over here? Okay, wait a minute. Why is this happening? Wait a minute. Let me check this out. I understand kind of what's going on here, but let me understand why this is moving slowly or moving fast, or even why is this being interjected into, our way of life? And what does it do here with the expansion and contraction? When an entrepreneur identifies something and they decide, you know what, there's a need here, and then they interject it into the economy, into our world, they're banking on that it's something we need, and it's going to help in some capacity. And then the investor is going to be like, hey, let me support you in that, right? Let me support you in that. And then all of a sudden, I'm going to help you grow. I'm going to help this thing grow. We're really going to make this thing grow, and people are going to love it, and the economy is going to expand. Whatever that is, they're creating something or innovating, right? And all of a sudden, there becomes more needs, right? There becomes a need from the service side, and then there also becomes a need from the good side. It depends upon what it is that they're that they have innovated, right? I mean, it could be the idea that there's a new thing out, cell phones come out, and it just transforms things, right? There could be an idea that there's a new product that comes out that makes your car last longer, right? There could be a new vehicle that comes out. We're talking about these electric vehicles. There's hydrogen and things. I mean, there's just anything that you could think of, right? There becomes a need. And when there becomes that need, demand, and if it's a product that needs to be produced and then shipped, then that's where we come into play, right? We start moving the product, right? So when the demand increases, things are good for us. When the economy is doing well, when the economy is healthy, we are doing well. The trucking industry is doing well. When you and you guys are out there, so you guys know, I don't know, I base it upon a lot of people I talk to, a lot of things I read, observing things, how I feel, all that stuff, But I think being out there on the road, you have such an amazing advantage. And I've not been on. I would love to. I would love to. We're just dealing with people, really. Everyone's a people. So I'd love to be on the road and just be able to experience that, you guys. But at any rate, so when we're talking about this economy and how it's doing like this, there's one last thing I want to add to this, okay? The economy does this, as we said, but also the economy does this, all right? This is just in my head, the way I see things. So when it's doing this and this, what it means is that it's evolving, okay? Things are changing. It doesn't necessarily mean it has to grow in this way, right? It can grow in this way. It fits together a little better, right? When we were able to communicate better, I remember back when I was younger and we would make phone calls. I have family that's overseas. And when I was younger, we would make a call and we'd have to make it at a certain time of the day, night, actually. It was weird to me because it was like 1 a.m. here and it'd be 9 p.m. there, or morning there. So we would make this phone call, and it wasn't the best call because the call was it was fuzzy. It didn't, you couldn't hear well. And so when you made the call, you had to listen. I mean, you had to try to pay attention. It would seem like it was going to go out. It's like a bad connection. Today, that's totally different. We can pick up the phone. We can talk to anyone around the world and have a crystal clear call as if they're next door, right? So that obviously is a huge change in the world. What has it done? It's done a lot of things, right? Has it caused the economies to do this? Of course it has. There's still some economies that are working to implement this type of technology, but it has done made a major expansion on the global front. And with that, it has allowed us to be able to communicate in a different way, where I'm able now to put in orders. I can make purchases. I can stop purchases. I can come up with ideas. And it's not just the cell phone, but I mean, just the evolution of technology, and it plays a part in our economy, but we are a part of it. We are a part of it. So as far as that goes, just kind of throwing that out there. I mean, that was pretty long, but I think it developed some kind of groundwork to look at things, how we see things. And what I mean by that is just a couple of other things. Man, one is that we have, just because I'm here in America, which let's say is the greatest nation in the world, and I'm saying that just because taking on certain looking at certain factors, it is. There's a lot of people that want to come to America, and there's a lot of flaw to America, but the idea is, I want to, if I live somewhere else in another part of the world, what are my aspirations, right? Do I have the best opportunity here to achieve what it is that I want to accomplish? Or do I have a better chance somewhere else? There are people that have left here and gone to South America to do some amazing things, right? In other parts of the world. So it doesn't mean that you have to come here to be prosperous and successful, but there's a lot of opportunity that does exist. And so a lot of people do want to come here for that. And for that, I totally agree. I'm like, welcome. And obviously the idea is, and this is for anyone, even if they do live here, is or from here or naturalized here, is that you got to do the right thing. That's the bottom line. So it doesn't matter one way or the other. If you're from another country or you're here, just do the right thing. And with that said, taken out, that people are doing the wrong thing, which it does happen. There's no question about it. In trucking, outside of trucking, wherever it goes on. It could be in another country scamming here in America, or someone here in America scamming someone here in America, right? We don't have to look too far to find that. It goes on every day, and regardless, people are people. So with that said, excluding that, just for the fact that here in America, it's such an amazing place, there are opportunities here, right? There are opportunities here to have a business, make a lot of money, and create your ideas. Doesn't even have to be about money, but the one thing I will say is this: just because you're here in America, it does not mean that we don't need others. Right. It doesn't mean that we don't need others, that we are, as I said, America is the greatest country, I believe, in the world. But how about what others have to contribute? Guys, let me see here. I want to see if, I don't know how to, okay, maybe that's, all right. I was just looking here on the chat. I didn't want to ignore anybody. I'm still learning this thing. And man, I am okay. I guess I did okay there. So if there's something somebody has to say, I just want to make sure I don't miss anything. And let's see. Okay. So any rate, have been allowed to go unrestrained as long as and punish, stop scamming. Hopefully, yeah. Well, I think it's kind of like, with scammers, they've been around forever, and it's never going to stop. I mean, this is the way I look at it. When I was a kid, and I when I was younger, there were things that kids did in school. And then as I get older, I find adults doing the same thing that kids did back when I was in school. And I would have to imagine that when my parents were in school, that, kids did the same thing then, whatever that might have been, how they teased each other, how they interacted. And a lot of them were, reflections of their parents. And then I would imagine today kids, they're no different. There's a lot of things that they have that we didn't have. We didn't have cell phones. We didn't have the internet and things like that. Boy, I wish we did. I wish I did back then. But people found ways to get over on other people. I remember before all of this stuff where you could sign on today, and get access to an app or access to a website. Before that, do you recall what that was before that? What it was before that was when you would write down, you would go into the grocery store, you would go to a restaurant, and then they would have on the table, or there on the on the table, they would have a little uh, entry form where you could win a car, and you fill that out, you put it in the box, and you hope to win. All they were doing was collecting your information. That's all they were doing, right? That is what happens today. Now it can be done on a global scale, and we give our information so freely, right? So back then, we were very cautious about giving our information away. No one's going to have my social security number. No one's going to have any of this information. So that, I don't know how successful that was. It must have been because the boxes were out there. But today, how do you think about that? That's the box. Today, we give our information out all over the place freely, and we don't covet that. We give it. So when we give it, and we're giving it in a different way, it's not the box. Somebody could steal the box and get your information, right? But what if you went to, you put your information online? We don't know where that goes. And they collect that information, and that information goes everywhere. It's out there. Our information's out there now. So as far as scams goes, yeah, it's gonna be hard to reel that back in. So it's a matter of finding the best band-aids, right? The best things to mitigate that, and hopefully there is a way to solve that and eliminate fraud. And I don't think there ever will be. I mean, we have fraud right in front of us. You have people in the financial institutions that um, that scam people out of billions of dollars, and right in front of our faces. I forget the guy's name. What was it? Friedman. Larry, not Larry, Friedman. I mean, you have these different Ponzi schemes, and it's just incredible how that works. Um, oh wow. There's scammers from everywhere. Yeah, it's you definitely have to be, you got to be careful. Um, and then so in trucking, the idea is this. When we're working with brokers, I remember back in when the housing market crash hit, when you're working with brokers, man, it was not, well, I would say I was a broker back then. I wouldn't say working with brokers. I would say just during the housing market crash, there was a lot of, I don't even know if I want to call it scams that came out. I think a lot of people were desperate back then, right? And you would have brokers not paying the carrier. You would have people that would have things moved and they wouldn't pay. Didn't have money. We're trying to get things going and figure it out. But then you did have people that came in and set up shop and made a lot of money, doing it. And I mean, nefarious money. And there were scams back then. And I'm talking about in the early 2000s. That's not long ago, 20, 25 years ago, I guess. You go back way back in time, scams are not new. They're unfortunate is what they are. And, they hurt a lot of people, unfortunately. So, um, To build direct, I hear you, Georgia. To build relationships, I agree with that. You know that I don't know if you know, but that is where I always end up at is building relationships. That's a big topic for me especially when we're talking about trucking. That's a huge topic for me is to build relationships. Are you if I've got it actually in any, I'm just going to keep it to business, right? I mean, we can go outside business because it makes so much sense. But in talking about business, relationships are vital, you know, they are so vital. And in bringing that up, it goes right into what we're talking about, or at least where I was headed. And as I was saying, America's the best country, the biggest country, or most the greatest country, regards to economics, military and all that, even technology. I mean, China is doing some things, but America is really, really good at all that stuff. So when we're talking about building relationships, look at it from this standpoint. At least this is how I look at it. Everything really. America is like we talk about Canada being our neighbor, and we talk about Mexico being our neighbor. I mean, when we bring it down and wherever we live, if we have neighbors, you have people around you. Sometimes we don't talk to them. We don't even know who our neighbors are. But I think it would be good to do that. I don't know why we don't. I'm not saying everyone doesn't, but I think that we should. And I think that on a global scale, same difference. You need to have relationships. You do. Here in America, we don't have everything. We don't build everything. We're not the best at everything. We're not. And that's just a fact, you see. And so I don't think that we should treat ourselves as that. I don't think we should be in high school thinking that we're better than everyone else in that way. I just don't, I mean, we need other people. There are things that I don't want to do, right? That someone else would love to do, you know there are tedious things here in the office I don't like doing. I build little things, I put things together so that I can hit a button and it's taken care of. I enjoy doing that because it makes my life easier. But then at the same time, I'm building something where I probably could go buy it and I could hit a button and it'll take care of a certain thing. But I like the idea that I can hit a button and it takes care of a lot of things. I can enter something and it tells me a lot of different things. I enjoy doing that. I love doing that in the trucking industry. Here, looking at the global market, we need other people. We need other countries. My understanding is there are no bananas that are made or produced here in America. Okay. One thing I do know is that orchids, we got happy Mother's Day to everyone. Happy Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day, happy Mother's Day. I definitely want to say that. And, there's a lot of flowers that will be produced and a lot of flowers that will be shipped. And I'm sure already have been shipped. I know that already have been shipped because flowers are a big deal during Valentine's and Mother's Day. And a lot of them get shipped out because I've been involved with that, right? And the reason I'm bringing all this up, it just reminds me of when I was working with Taiwan. We were working with Taiwan because orchids are produced there. This is my understanding. This is what I recall from back then. And they're the biggest producer of orchids in the world. The reason being is because their climate is conducive for that. All right. And so you have those orchids that come over to the United States. We were involved in getting those orchids over here to the United States. And then you have the refrigerated containers, temperature controlled containers. That's a big deal. And so once they got here, they obviously had to get on a truck timely and get to their destination. And timing was everything. Monitoring them was everything. We put a device on the truck to monitor, make sure the temperature was accurate. Didn't want any failures along the way. Where is it at? Need to know where the truck is at. Eventually, what they did was invited us to Taiwan. We didn't make it that year. We were planning to go that next year. We didn't make it, but we looked up all these different things and learned about Taiwan. So we understood the culture. I learned some things. I learned that you do not put your hand on the head of a child in Taiwan. I believe that's the sign of disrespect. Now, I don't go around putting my hand on people, kids' heads. I don't do that, but I know that people do, but that is something you don't do, in Taiwan. That is what I learned. So we have, so can orchids be produced here in the United States? Yeah, they have. You have to have an artificial environment. It's not natural in order to produce them, is my understanding. We went to California. We visited the nurseries in California. There was one that we visited, I can't remember, and they got the approval to produce blue orchids. They had to get, I think it was like government approval. I can't remember what it was. They were really excited about it, And this was around 2014-ish or so. And they were a big producer, And then I understand that in South America, producing orchids, that's the climate's pretty good there as well. It's really, really interesting and fascinating. But so orchids coming over, you have other countries that are better at doing a thing than we are, whatever that might be. So we need those relationships. And at the same time, yes, they need the relationship as well. It's a way for their economy to grow, right? We're all on this planet together. They're my neighbors, Canada, Texas, Mexico, my neighbors, overseas, my neighbors. We're all on this one planet. We're all sharing this one planet. And there is no reason why we should not be able to get along instead of trying to get ahead of each other. That's just how it is. Everyone is trying to, or at least these top 3 or 4, whatever it is, are trying to have that competitive edge, I guess, or be the big dog, or whatever you want to call it, whatever they called it in high school. I don't know. But the thing is that the idea is that we all need each other. We do. There can be people in another country that are working on some groundbreaking cure for a situation or a disease. Why would I not want to have relations with them? Why would I not want to develop relationships with them? We're talking about scams, I mean, if I have a good relationship with another country, maybe they're going to be more sensitive to, the situation that's going on. They know that, there are people in their country that are putting on scams here, and maybe some kind of way they would crack down on that, because of the relationship that we have. You think of your own personal relationships, right? Relationships do matter. In trucking, relationships matter. It matters for broker as well. You see, and some good brokers that I worked with back in the 90s, and some bad ones as well. Absolutely. There's going to be the good and there's going to be the bad. There's going to be the good in trucking on the trucking side, of having as being a carrier. And there's also going to be those on the broker side that are going to be good and those that are going to be bad, So it's going to be, it can be, you gotta watch out, but at the same time, you have to move forward and you have to do business. But as you build relationships, that's where that trust comes into play, right? And not only just the trust, it also gives you an opportunity to grow. It allows your business to actually grow and develop. You become that much better for your clients. You become that much better for your for others around you. For your employees. Building these relationships. I mean, like right here on YouTube. I mean, you can have 1,000 people watching, and then you can have 2 or 3 watching. Either way, in the effort of building relationships for the right reasons, it actually makes a difference tomorrow. So I agree with that in regards to relationships. Again, it goes back to the economics of things. It really, really does. There was something else that I was going to address. I can't remember what it was. But so for you all, let me see here. Well, yeah. I think there's so many lessons that we can learn from people before us. So Mr. DIY, look at him. There's my guy right there. Howdy, brother. How you doing, man? You didn't come in at the beginning, and that's okay. I don't fault anyone for it, man. I don't know what I'm doing here. So it's this thing is really scary on this side. It's my first time on the YouTube, doing it on the YouTube side, and I figured I've been trying to get this clear picture, man. Hey, your wife out for a birthday. Oh, tell Miss Kelly happy birthday. Tell her I said happy birthday and happy Mother's Day and all that good stuff. Please let her know these are my favorite people. So definitely do that, and you treat her right. Whatever she wants, you make sure you get it for her for me. Don't. So here I am, man. It's my first time on the YouTube side, man, and I'm sweating bullets, man. This is, it's like, all right, what are we gonna do here? So, we had, I don't know, talked about some stuff, probably some basic stuff, but I think it's probably interesting and needed to kind of set the foundation of things. And let's see, you're a natural. I don't know what that means. I guess I'm a natural human being. Is that it, or what are we talking here? So it's nerve-wracking, but man, I tell you what, it's what we do, and I love it. Uh, ah, look at that! Look at my guy. See, I love DIY, man. He is like, um, if I had him next to me, man, we would do some amazing things. This guy just knows how to really put stuff out there, and he's really good at it. See, and here's the thing, man. He says, tell him about water drop, and I'm going to do that. I'm going to get to it. Matter of fact, I'm going to get to that right now. He knows how to put stuff out there and promote things and what have you. Me, I think I get inside my head and I get really, really critical, and then it's like, all right, I'm thinking all these different thoughts and it just goes off track. Even for what I do, I mean, it's more like if you're trying to do something for yourself, sometimes we can be our worst critic, right? I think that's how it works out. But so yeah, you and I talk next week. I agree. If you got to go, I get it, man. But you make sure you tell her I said happy birthday, okay? It's her day. She probably don't want to deal with no stinking trucking, right? Good. Been crazy, stupid, busy. Okay, man. I hope that crazy, stupid is crazy, stupid, good, busy. All right. That is some good stuff, man. Yeah, I've been busy here too, and with water drop, it doesn't roll off my tongue when I say it, but I just keep talking and not actually talk about it. But man, what water drop is, man, I would love to hear your interpretation of what water drop is. I really, really would. Um, Basically, what it is what we have developed is a way to give the trucking industry insight as to what is to happen. I'm gonna put it out this way. All right, I'm just gonna call it. What I've been working on is that you hear in the economy they talk about recession, recession, recession. Is it going to be a recession? No, there's not. It's um, it's a guidance for your business decisions. Yes, it is. He said it before I could even get to it, right? It helps you to guide your business. When, if you're talking about recession, nobody knows what to do with that because they hear so many voices as to are we in a recession or not? And then what do you do with that? What does that mean for anyone? You can call someone and everybody has a whole different thought about it. And you can call certain people and they're like, I'm not worried about it. But the problem is things are happening while they're not worried about it. You call trucking, you call a transportation or a shipper, and you're talking to the person that handles the transportation end of things. They haven't a clue as to what their company is doing. They don't know how their company is handling what's going on in the economy. They don't know. They just don't because they're not privy to that or they're not interested in that. They're just like, as long as I come to work and I got a job, I don't care until I don't have a job. My thought is, why wait until then? You know, why don't we have something that tells us beforehand, hey, this is where things are at. Things are kind of shaky. That doesn't mean you quit your job and you go do something else, but that means that, depending upon what you do, maybe you do have an opportunity to make some decisions, make some changes. Just like DIY said, it's a guidance for your business decisions, right? And so if in trucking, you have an idea as to, again, as we talked about early on, our industry follows the economy, right? So if I have some insight into the economy, why wouldn't I then look at that to help me make business decisions? If I don't, think about it. You've got a trucking company. Why would you not do that? Why would you sit in your office, if it's in your truck or at home, wherever that might be, and not know what these things mean? And not understand what actually is going on that's going to create a situation here pretty soon. Why not? Why wouldn't it? Well, better yet, the question is, if you had that, if you had something that could tell you what is to come, what is about to happen, literally, you can call it a crystal ball. Let's do that. I'm going to call it that. If you had a crystal ball that could tell you what's happening, what's going on, what's about to come, would that be of value to you? Would that be something that you could use? And I don't mean it from the standpoint of, hey, you know what, I'm going to be able to tell you what's going on in tomorrow. That's not what I'm saying. I'm just wanting to pick your brain in terms of the idea. What kind of value could that bring to you? That's what I'm asking. And it's not for me to know at this point. I'm just asking you to promote thought. What if you were able to have a crystal ball and be able to tell some things as to what's about to happen, and then be able to respond to that? How would that help you? I mean, it is like knowing the weather, right? You have a weather forecast and they say the storms are coming and you're going right into the storm and you see it. They've told you what is about to happen, but you totally decided to ignore it and you go into the storm. Next thing you know, you wake up in the morning and you're upside down. That's kind of what we're talking about. That's like if we understand some things about the economy and understand what's about to happen before it happens, but we continue to drive in that way. Why would I do that? I wouldn't do that in a storm. I wouldn't do that. So it's the same thing. Why would you do that? I'm not saying you would, but I'm just asking the question. Therefore, would it make sense to have something that could help you identify that, and so you can make better decisions? And if you're able to make better decisions ahead of time, what could that do for your company? What could that do for you? So that's the whole idea behind Water Drop. There is that part of it, where we're talking about actually being able to give you some foresight so that you can make better decisions, along with how do I maneuver through this? Now I come from the standpoint of sales, okay, and building the relationships, Georgia, as you mentioned, right? And being able to develop those relationships. DIY, he's big on that. He's good on that, man. I tell you, building relationships. What does that mean? Building relationships with brokers, or are we talking about with other carriers? Or are we talking about building relationships with dealerships? Or are we talking about building relationships with financial institutions? Are we talking about building relationships with just other people? Are we talking about building relationships with, the business down the street? Are we talking about building relationships with community? What are we talking about when we talk about building relationships? Honestly, it's all of the above. It's all of the above. It all matters. It does. It all matters. One of the things that was in sales, people would say, repair shop, mechanics too, 100%. 100%. You got it. Absolutely. I go to play, I go over here at the store to eat, grab me something to eat. And then I don't know, we were talking about cats, and I love cats. And the lady behind the counter loves cats too. And I'm just going to throw it out there, man. She hooked me up on my lunch one day, right? And it's just because of the relationship we built. I wasn't expecting it, but then people are going to be more honest. How do we eliminate scam? I'm not going to say we're going to eradicate it, but how do we eliminate it from our lives, minimize it from our lives? And if you're building relationships, you can have this ecosystem, so to speak, that is conducive for you, And so you're absolutely right. Yep. When you have personal relationships with people, it makes it hard for them to rip you off. Yep. It minimizes the chance of that happening. So as far as that goes, I mean, relationships are huge, and when we are, working to grow our business, that is a part of it, as well as being able to see ahead. So we can make better decisions. We can make better business decisions. If I am in trucking and I want more business, right, and build relationships, you know, sales, you cannot escape sales at all. You cannot escape it. I don't care how you can escape it if you want to stay here at this level. But if we're trying to do this, right, sales is a part of what we do. Okay. So when we're talking about water drop, and let me back up real quick. What is water drop in terms of, like, even how do we come up with the name? I mean, I'm even thinking about changing the name, but basically this whole thing about the recession, it really, really was getting to me, because I was trying to figure out why is everyone talking about, from one interview to the next, everyone is saying we are in a recession, or they would say we're not in a recession, or they would say we're on the brink of a recession. We are at all these various spots on the recession scope, right? And I was like, nobody knows. It just depends upon your perspective. And at the same time, that person might be in a recession. They just might be. In their field. That makes sense to me, right? There's a ton of different industries, a ton of different businesses, and each business is not the same. Therefore, we could be in a recessionary environment while someone else is prosperous. Trucking can be doing really well while others are struggling. It could be that way. So then, are we in a recessionary phase, in trucking? No. But the other company or industry might be. Maybe they're just fading out. I don't know. But why not know about it? Why not know exactly what's going on? Be able to identify that. And if you're able to identify that, then you're able to make better business decisions, for your business. You're able to figure that. So you're actually understanding ahead of time what is going on before most people. And if you're able to do that, you're going to be able to make decisions that other people aren't making. And you're going to have that competitive advantage. And that is what water drop brings to the table. The idea of water drop was, for me, in regards to figuring out this about a recession, I just kept questioning, why can't anyone figure this out? Why isn't anyone answering this? I think it's because it's so broad. They just try to look at it from and try to give an answer on a broad scope, because I think that we are in a recession. And I think it depends upon what business you're in. It's just that simple, right? And then so for us in trucking, I wanted to put together something that tells us that. But in doing that, I also realized that what we do is vitally important. In being able to identify that, there are other industries and other entities, they could look at trucking to determine what's the health of the economy. So with water drop, I'm looking at it as a way for us to be able to figure out where we are in the industry, where, recessionary or not, or what is that? When did that happen? And how can I stand on that? And if so, what do I need to do while I'm in that situation, while we are in that situation? I can have answers. And then, because a lot of people, they're just waiting for things to change in order to, for things to be better. I'm just sitting here and I'm just hopeful that things will get better, but I'm not doing anything. You see, that's the key, is what can we do in order to make a difference? Is there anything that we can do? And so water drop does provide that, gives you ideas, and not only ideas, but also will give you scripts on how to, how to approach that. So when I was talking about sales, I could talk about sales all day, and there's a lot to talk about, just because, I mean, a lot of people think of sales as this sleazy car salesman type of thing, but it's not. And sales is in everything. I don't care what, I mean, and it should be. And if you don't have sales as a part of what you do, then you're cheating yourself, right? You need to have some aspect of sales in order for, your business, I believe, to go to another level. I mean, we can complain about a lot of things, but there's a lot of things that we can do, right? And I think that that's a part of it. That's a part. If we can figure out, that aspect of sales, I think then you're going to have a much different go at what you're doing. All right. But at any rate, if we are here in our environment, trucking, and let's say there are different. I've got a refrigerated truck, right? And I want to move refrigerated products, and maybe that'd be dairy, or maybe that'd be meat, produce, whatever it is. With water drop, what we're going to be able to do is identify. You give us the information, and then what type of equipment you have, the area that you move around in, the region, and some other information. We'll take that information and we'll use that, and we'll be able to assess that area, on the transportation front, and we'll be able then to put something together. So then you would be able to actually, excuse me, have a game plan on how to maneuver in that space and set yourself up for the goals that achieve the goals that you're trying to achieve. And I'll give you a quick example. Let's say you're in dairy. We will give you information about dairy, that will be advantageous to you, even people to contact, so that you can reach out to them and use this information that we've given to you so that you can communicate with them effectively to help you build the relationship. And as you do that, we will help you along the way, so then you can have built that relationship and actually move product for them. And then you don't have to deal with scammers and things like that. The scammers won't be there because you've built the relationship and you started to eliminate them, right? But how do I go from sitting here trying to figure out, I just hope that the economy does better, to understanding some things and being able to take yourself to the next level and be able to reach out to the people, right? The right people, the right industry, and know what to talk about and know how to build that relationship, right? Again, I have America has Canada to the north, we have Mexico to the left, and then everyone overseas. We need to build relationships. We need to build relationships because they've got what I need, I've got what they need. There is no such thing as being self-sufficient in that way. You can be, but it just depends on what you're trying to accomplish. That is the key. What is it that you're trying to accomplish? So you can keep yourself isolated. Great, no problem. But if you want something different and you're trying to achieve something beyond that, then you have to build relationships. Okay. I did not bring me any water, and I am so thirsty. So it seems like I've been talking. I need to figure this whole thing out, because then I could probably even bring somebody in here and they could talk too, I bet. So I got to figure this all out. I don't know how to do all this. And it's already been, gosh, it's been 58 minutes. I can't believe it's been that long. Guys, I really appreciate you guys coming in. I guess I'm gonna stop there. It almost feels like I just abruptly stopped, right? But the whole idea is that, here's the economy. We got to understand how that works. There's so many things to understand. And then how do we operate in this economy? Because if I'm concerned about a broker and always complaining about the brokers, that might not even be my real issue, right? And not only that, there's probably something else that I could do that would actually be better than focusing in on brokers. And I'm not saying that there's not issues there. What I am saying is that there's opportunity that exists, and that is the key, is understanding how all these things work and jumping on these opportunities. There's so much going on today in the world, man. I think that, did you guys know that with the Dow Jones, I might have talked about this last week, the Dow Jones Industrial, um, that when it was put together, the first, I guess the first thing on the market was the DJT, I think that's what it is, DJTI, the Dow Jones Transportation Index. That was the very first of all, even before the Dow Jones Industrial. The Dow Jones Transportation was the very first. Was that back in 1887? Maybe, I think. I don't remember, but it goes way, way, way back, and it's still on the exchange. You can check it out and see how it goes up, goes down, and work to try and understand what that is all about. But what I would do, guy, I'm challenging you guys on this. And I'll figure out how this whole thing is going to go with YouTube. I'll get better at it, I promise you. But I challenge you, like this week, think of someone that a company that you're interested in, just a company, any company, I don't care what company it is, and just find out something about it, right? Find out what they did last year and what their plans are for this year. What are they trying to accomplish? What did last year look like for them? You can easily do a Google search and read, not just their website, just some articles that surround them, and get a sense and get a feel for them. I don't care what company it is. Right now, like I say, I think the nursery is a hot market right now. So you can reach out, look up some big nurseries and just reach out to them, give them a call, or you don't have to call them. You actually can. If you end up having a question, you don't have to be offering them anything. You were just curious, give them a call and see what they say if a question comes up. But my point is to just get interested and find a company that, just look them up, see what's going on with them or what has gone on with them, just to kind of get an idea. I plan to be back here next Friday, and I'd love to hear what you guys find out. It might be a company that you already know about, but I'm just curious. I ask a lot of questions, I do. I tend to ask a lot of questions. And I used to tell people, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to keep you this long and ask you all these questions. They're like, no, it's okay. And that's great that they say that, because I'm not just trying to waste their time. And people respect that, right? When you do communicate with people and you want to understand them and know about them, most people are cool with that. They really, really are. That's a nugget right there that I just gave you. Okay. When you are reaching out to people, when you're reaching out to businesses, okay, most of the time, more than likely, they're interested in telling you about themselves, and when they do that, you find out, like we talk about here, building relationships, the importance of it. That's the start of building a relationship. And when you do that, eventually what happens is, guess what? You could have yourself a customer at some point in time. All right. We're just people. We're all just people, right? The weather affects us the same, clothes. We all have the same problems. Does this look right on me? Does this look cute on me? Is this too big? My kids, yeah, my kid did this in school, right? Or, man, my daughter just had a new baby. Yeah, I'm a grandmother. We are all just people. So in just talking to people, we can find out a lot of things, and it can be good for our business. It's part of the whole process, and that's how we start to build relationships. Okay. So with that, find out something about a business. Love to talk to you about it again, but you can reach me here at, I don't know if any of that information is out there, but 816-703, I'm sorry, that's my cell number, 866-342-0040, extension 109. Again, 866-342-0040, extension 109. You can also send me an email at paul.k@fr8connect.com. That's paul.k@fr8connect.com. Also, we've got our website, which is at www.fr8connect.com, www.fr8connect.com. And then we have our other website, which is at www.elevatefr8.com. So that's www.elevatefr8.com. dot evelate fr8.com. Okay. There's a lot of good information there. Go to the blog. I was just looking at it today and I was like, man, there's some good stuff on here. We wrote about, you probably have heard about Scott Bessent, right? The Treasury, head of Treasury. You got Howard Lutnick, right? Head of Commerce. You've got Sean Duffy. He's in the news. He's been in the news ever since he's taken the post. There's been, one other thing I do want to ask you guys. He's been in the news. There's been, aircrafts falling out of the sky, having collisions. They have been crashing into neighborhoods, houses. And then now we've got this big deal going on with Newark. So we had wrote about all these people before they ever became these household names, because these were people we thought that were going to be really, really become household names. You go onto our blog and you'll see back in November when he was making his picks, those are the ones that we highlighted. We were going to highlight the economics person, the labor and education. Well, not education, but labor. We didn't for some reason. The other big name, obviously, is his Attorney General, and then also the head of defense. And but those are the three that we thought would be relevant to our industry, right? And we really, really focused in on that. And they have been. They've been in the news quite a bit. I think Bessick is going to be talking to China here today or something like that. And Lutnick, he's always on the news talking and smiling. And then we've got Sean. So the reason I want to bring this up about Sean, I just have a question about these planes, these aircrafts, the helicopters, and can somebody help me out? Can someone please help me out? Why is it happening? I think that there's a report of accident. I mean, you don't hear about it all the time. You don't hear about every car wreck. You don't hear about every aircraft accident. You don't hear about things that go on in the ocean. You don't hear about everything that goes on, overseas. I mean, we've got war brewing with Pakistan and India. That's happening, starting up. I know people over there. But, you have all these things going on around the world, but you do have these, it seems like, maybe just more they're reported a lot more, but you have these planes that are going down. And the question is why all of a sudden that is happening. But this big thing that's going on somebody would probably, I haven't looked into it enough. I just have heard the headlines and heard some stories, some reporting on it, but you can help me out. Why are we, the blackout in my location. Hey, where are you? Is that Devansh? I hope I said that right. How are you doing? Good to see you. Yep, war in India. The blackout. Yeah. So you have this blackout that's going on in Newark. So what? I mean, it happened, I think, this morning again. So my question is it just failure of equipment? An upgrade that's needed? You think that's what it is? Or do we think that there's there's activity going on from abroad? Do we think that something is getting into our system where they played around and were able to cause issues with, they started off small with smaller aircrafts, and now we're having these issues at the Newark airport? Or is it just old? I don't know. What is it? Or is it just old? Maybe it's just old, I have no idea. Say my name. Devansh? Did I say that right? You can phonetically spell it, and then I'll make sure I get it right. Dewan. I'm sorry if I am messing up your name. It is not my intent. I've had to deal with it ever since I was a kid. Okay. Very good. Very good. Very good. So, so this year with this, I don't know. I don't know what's going on, with the aircrafts. But it's interesting, to see it one after other. So with Sean Duffy, who is over transportation, he's not just over trucking, right? It's all of transportation, and that does include the airways or the airways. So he's a busy guy. He's going to be a busy guy. He's got a big mission ahead of him, looking to revamp the entire system. And I totally believe that it probably needs to be done. I used to know someone that worked at Southwest, and they worked at the headquarters in Texas. And she was like, "We're like, why are the fares so cheap?" Said, "Well, the guys that run it." Owners is what she said. They're old school, and we have the big CRT monitors. You remember those monitors that were like this thick, and when you put it on your desk, you had to have it right here in front of you because you had to have the whole tube needed room, so that it wouldn't be so it'd be off the wall, and it was just the green screen and then the writing, and you had your keyboard, but we had this big TRC. That's what it's called, right? CRT, TRC, CRT, CRT, the screens. And so that's what they had when everyone had flat screens. They were still operating off of these old monitors, and they couldn't figure out why they didn't upgrade, but they seemed to be so happy that they worked at Southwest, But the idea is, that is probably an area that needs upgrading, And when I say that, I don't know that they all talk to each other very well. You have new technology coming out. I'll give you an example. Let's say you have a new car that comes out. That car has everything in it. Uh, it has internet, the best sound system. Your seats. Oh man, you could just go to sleep in these seats. It takes the pressure of the tire. It might even reinflate it. It. I remember one I was sitting in. It had like a little refrigerator in the back, ice in there. And there's just so many things. I mean, these things you can set in them. You might as well use them as a house. I mean, some of them cost as much as a house used to cost. And so you have all this advancement, and they probably can communicate with each other. Some of them can drive themselves. But if you go back not too long ago, man, you have cars where in order to lock the door, you have to use your thumb and you have to use your fingers to pull up the lock. You have to roll down the windows. That was just the other day for me. That wasn't that long ago. But when you have all this new technology that comes out and this advancement, and there's things that could be done, and more fuel efficient and things like that come about, then other things around it have to, meet those standards. You have electric vehicles. Well, we need charging stations, right? If you don't put in charging stations, then you can become obsolete as a gas station. you know there's a lot of things that you can miss out on. So as with these airports, and without keeping up with the times or being able to keep up with the times, things are going to pass them by, and then all of a sudden we have this poor technology and we have situations. So maybe that's the simplicity of it, that we just don't have the proper equipment in place, right? I don't know. So I guess I'm going to be reading up on that just to kind of get updated. But there's so many things that are going on. And in regards to water drop, I mean, I really, really do want to share that, and even get some insight about that. I mean, I'd love to. I'd be willing to share, a copy of one of the reports, and just you don't have to check it out. It's okay. But I would just love to get some insight in regards to our report, and see what you think of it. Maybe there's something you could add to it that would be of help to us. But I'm really excited about it because I think it's going to really help a lot of carriers. People don't like to talk about economics, but I'm telling you, look, in my opinion, if there's a choice, talk about economics, don't talk about economics. Talk about sales, don't talk about sales. I believe there's a difference in income. There can be. Even if you say you're doing well, there's a difference in income. I think you could be doing better, and it's not hard. It really isn't. Sales economics, none of it's hard. I really would love to at least put it out there, and then, just kind of, if you say, man, this is just too much, or this is crazy, or this is great, or this stinks, or whatever, it would definitely be helpful. And, and then coming from DIY with the comment that he made, I really appreciate that. I respect, everything he does and what he says. And so hopefully I'll be talking to him shortly. But yeah, if somebody's interested in it, just hit me up. You can hit me on the email, say, hey, send me the report. I'll do it. I'm at paul.k@fr8connect.com. That's paul.k@fr8connect.com. And then you can give me a call too. I'll answer, or I'll call you back. 866-342-0040, extension 109. Again, that's 89.